Welcome to the Mindset Architect podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with reTHINK Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect podcast, episode number 154. I'm Tony Caliendo, author of the book Less Over More, an executive coach here at reTHINK Coaching. As always, welcome. I want to thank you for sharing your time with me. Time truly is our greatest asset, and the fact that you're willing to share your time with me truly does not go unnoticed. So thank you so much for being here. Today, I want to talk about the things we protect. And I'm not talking about the obvious, like our values, our family, our health, even our investments. I'm really talking about something a little bit different. Basically, what are you protecting simply because you're afraid to let it go? And I want you to think about that. It could be a role, it could be a goal, it could be a relationship, it could be a business strategy, an income stream, a responsibility that you have, maybe even a version of yourself that you're holding onto and we're choosing to protect it. You know, sometimes we hold on to these things and they're still important, yet other times we might be holding on to something because it used to be important. It's no longer important, but we haven't stopped long enough to ask ourselves the question whether they still belong in our lives, whether that thing that we're protecting still belongs in our world. And this is really deeply connected with the book Less Over More, because we talk about this identification of things that we could remove to make space for bigger and better, or even just the right more things in your life to show up. So we're going to talk about 6 things that could be impacting you right now as to what you're holding on to and what you're protecting that you might need to reconsider and think about letting go. So number 1, we tend to protect what once worked. Think about it. A lot of what we protect isn't bad. In fact, it could have been incredibly valuable at one point, whether that was in your life or your career. The role that maybe helped you build your reputation, the strategy that helped you build your business to where it is today, the relationship that was really important during a particular season of your life, or business growth, the routine that once kept you disciplined. The problem comes, though, when we assume that because something worked before, it must still belong now. And we can confuse familiarity with value. Think about that for a second. Things that feel familiar can somehow trick our minds into thinking that it automatically is providing value. And that may not be true. We might be holding on to something that honestly is no longer providing value, and it could actually be detracting from or lessening. Something can have been really, really right for you maybe 5 years ago and completely wrong for the person that you've become today. Again, much of it is we haven't slowed down to really assess right more, wrong more, what used to work, what's still working, what's still providing value, what do I like doing, yet we're holding on to it because it worked at one time. If you just ask yourself this simple question, am I protecting this because it still matters or because it once mattered? I think that's really an important question for us all to ask ourselves to the things that we've held on to. And this is what I want to invite you to think about. When I say things that we are protecting and that we are holding on to, this could be happening in what I call autopilot, unconscious awareness that you're even doing it. We've just been doing something for so long that we're unconsciously continuing to do it and maybe haven't thought about that I'm actually protecting that activity based upon what it used to do, and I'm just doing it out of habit at this point or routine or repetition, and I haven't given it a whole lot of thought. So something can be part of your success story without needing to be part of your next chapter. And I think for a lot of people, myself included, this can make you a smidge uncomfortable. I know for me, when I practiced real estate and then when I was building my coaching company, there were things that I did that worked really, really well, but they had a shelf life. They worked for so long, and then I needed to do something different if I was going to take my business or my life to the next level. And I would really have to force myself to stop and assess everything that I was doing and question why. Am I protecting it because it still matters, or am I protecting it because it used to matter And there's a false sense of security affiliated with that. I think that's a lot of the reason why we hold on to things, because it feels safe and there's that false sense of security attached to it. So that is really point number 2 I want to talk about, is that we do protect what makes us feel safe. We like certainty as human beings. I promise you. I mean, some of us love, myself included, new things, new opportunities, new ventures. Yet at the end of the day, I believe our number one basic human need is certainty. We want to know that we're going to be okay. We want to know that things are going to work out. We would really like to know what to expect, right? So things that might make you feel safe that we're holding on to or protecting that we might reconsider: a familiar job, a familiar client, a familiar routine, relationship. Sometimes we'd rather tolerate something that isn't working than face the uncertainty of what comes next. I shared this with you in a couple of podcasts, so I'm going to share it again. On this venture to writing the book and growing the coaching company and all the different moving parts and the different companies that I'm involved in, I had to really assess what am I holding on to and protecting that used to work. And I've shared that I have eliminated or ended a few group coaching programs. And for me, I was tolerating it. I don't mean like I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't fulfilling. It just wasn't what needed to happen to allow the space for other things to happen in my world. The book, number 1. Number 2, adjusting my coaching roster. It was having a greater ripple effect on me that I really knew. And it wasn't until I stopped and asked myself the question, what am I calling security that may actually be keeping me stuck? I enjoyed every single person that joined me in the group coaching program. I truly did. Yet it was blocking space for other things to happen. We only have so much time. I wish that we could invent more time, because then you wouldn't have to necessarily give up something that you're protecting. But I really think that a lot of times what we hold on to is something that makes us feel safe, even if it's not fulfilling any longer. And it's because it provides a level of certainty. So sometimes we aren't protecting what we want. We're protecting ourselves from the uncertainty of letting it go. There is a discomfort with ending something or letting something go, whether it's a business relationship, a personal relationship, a business partnership that you've been involved in the past. There is an uncomfortableness with letting it go, because even if it's not functioning at a high level, your brain likes to know what's happening. It's that certainty piece. And there's an interesting study by Dr. Joe Dispenza that talks about there's times that we can create negative emotions, negative experiences because we're familiar with it, because our mind and body knows what to do with it. And it feels safe. I'm certain when this happens, I'm going to have this emotional effect or this emotional connection. And even if it's not healthy, we do it. So what are you holding on to in your business or life that provides certainty that's actually holding you back? That the only thing it's providing is certainty, and it's not moving you forward. It's not creating the space for big things to happen. The third thing is, and this is one that I talk about in the book, there's a section on this, and it's about your identity. And a lot of times we'll protect an identity that we've outgrown. This is really, really important. We like to protect who we believe we are because it's comfortable, right? We might have been known in our circle being an achiever, a provider, a fixer, a leader, the dependable one, the person that always says yes, the person that everybody turns to. This happens a lot when we have mastered a level, whether it's in our life or in our business, that we're viewed as this. So the example that I share often is when I left the hospitality industry after 13 years, and I ran hotels both in operations and in sales. I knew how to do that. I could achieve. I was a provider to my team, to my ownership group, to the Marriott brand when I worked for Marriott. I could fix things. In fact, I was known to go into troubled hotels and fix them. And I was a good leader, right? It all came really naturally to me. And yet when I made the decision to leave the hospitality industry and go be an entrepreneur, and launched my career in the real estate industry, I suddenly was losing my identity. I could look at a P&L and a hotel statement and tell you exactly what was happening. Was it a housekeeping issue, a operations issue, front desk? Was it a sales issue? Was it an F&B issue? I knew it really, really well. That was all going away as I went into a new venture. My identity was something else than what it needed to be, yet I was holding on to it for dear life. And that becomes a challenge because your identity isn't meant to remain frozen, right? You grow, your priorities change, your responsibilities, roles, place in life changes. And sometimes growth, I would say almost always, growth is going to require you to adjust, adapt, change your identity. I always like to say as you grow, right? There's going to be pieces of your old identity that are going to come with you because there's some things that are just core, right? Values, how you show up in life. Whether I was in the hotel industry, real estate, coaching, author, whatever that is, I have a strong work ethic. That identity came with me in each one of those. However, my identity as a general manager of a hotel, my identity as a director of sales in a hotel, my identity as operations manager in a hotel, those were going away. And I wasn't quite certain what my new identity was going to be. So we tend to protect old identities that we've outgrown. For example, you may find yourself saying, let's say for myself, when I went into real estate, I heard this often. Well, I used to be a hotel general manager. I used to have an amazing career with Marriott Hotels. We're holding on to old identity. And it wasn't until I released that and said, I am a powerful real estate team lead. I am a powerful real estate broker. It wasn't until I allowed myself to adjust my identity that I actually saw true growth, because holding on to old identity actually holds you back. There were a lot of pieces of my identity that I developed while I was working and have the privilege of working with Marriott Hotels. Some of them had to be left behind, though, in order for me to excel. So you are allowed to outgrow the version of you that got you here. That's really important. I'm going to say it again. You are allowed to outgrow the version of you that got you here. You don't have to hold on to it forever. You're evolving. And even after your identity evolves to your current identity, it's going to and can change again, which is what I love about being an entrepreneur and different opportunities that come up. We get to redefine who we are and the identity that's going to help us get to or move towards that goal. The number 4 thing that we tends to contribute to protecting or holding on to things is we protect what we've already invested in. This is really a big one. And it's natural that we feel this way, right? We think about all the time or money that we invested in something, the money, the effort, the relationships, the energy, the reputation, the training, the certifications, all of the things that come along with, if you're a growth-minded person, right? If you had a growth mindset versus fixed, you're going to be constantly investing in yourself. I will tell you, when I left the hotel industry, a lot of what I had invested in myself had to be left behind. Some of those were transferable skills, and it's amazing. And I believe that's why I've been so successful as an entrepreneur, because the core skills that I learned and invested in early on in my corporate career have served me well. But we tend to want to protect that. And that can be the thing that holds you back from your new identity, from making a decision about doing something different that's not what you used to do. And so we protect because of that. You might be telling yourself, you know what, I've really come too far to stop now. I will share with you that has been a thought for me as I've evolved in different opportunities. I look at when I was a real estate agent, had a team. We did really, really well. And some thought that it wasn't a smart move to do what I did to move into leadership, franchise ownership, into coaching. I too had that thought, like, what am I doing? I've got it really good right now. I've come really far in my career. I'm respected in the industry. I'm respected by my peers. I've invested a ton of time in coaching and training and personal development. I've really come a long way. Why am I going to change that based upon those things? It wasn't until my coach said, think about the future opportunity, not what you've done in the past and the money you've spent. that money was well spent to help you master and be successful at what you did, there's massive opportunity for you to do that again in a different position, a different career, a different opportunity. So don't protect and stay put and not let go of things simply because you've invested a lot of time or money into doing something. Just realize that some of those are going to be transferable skills that will serve you for a lifetime, and you get to bring those with you. I really do think it's important for us to not think of how much I've already put into this and start thinking about what new opportunities are going to be in front of me. And because I have those skills, my learning curve might be shorter. My success opportunity might be greater. Past investment does not automatically justify future investment. Your past investment happened for a reason. I always say this. I've made a couple of blunders on my journey of writing a book. I invested with a marketing company that ended up being really not a great situation, and we parted ways. It cost me a lot of money. Could I have stayed with them? I could have, but every day I felt like I was pushing a string uphill with this company, and I made the choice to let that go. The number is significant that I invested with them, and I finally just had to accept the fact that that money is gone. It is out in the world doing what it needed to do. That investment is over, and now it's time to reallocate resources, time, and funds to invest in my future, not to just get stuck in, I need to stay with this company. I've put a lot of time and money into it. I'll just push through it. That would have actually held me back. The moment I made the decision to let that past investment go, great things started happening, and big learning lessons on vetting people at a higher level. Number 5 thing is holding on actually has a cost. And I think you get that, right? We spend a lot of time thinking about the cost of letting something go. I've heard clients say this: what am I going to lose? Who might I disappoint? What income might be impacted, disappear, go away, be reduced? What opportunity might I miss? What if I regret it, right? But there's another side to this equation that we really need to consider, but we rarely calculate because we like certainty. We like safety. We like familiarity. And what we fail to sometimes calculate is, what is it going to do for me with the time I have left? What is it going to do for my energy, my creativity, my focus, my relationships? My peace and my joy. Those are 2 big things that we don't always consider. Sometimes we stay because we don't want to disappoint somebody. Sometimes we stay for the fear of missing out. Could I have stayed with Marriott longer? Yes. Would I have promoted into different positions, upper level, even higher than where I was at? Most likely. But I had to not focus on what I would lose and focus on what I was going to gain. This is really big. Holding on has a cost. And a lot of times we only want to think about the cost of letting something go versus the reward for letting it go and creating the space for bigger things. How many times in your life or world have you done this and been rewarded greatly? At first, it's scary. I mean, for me, you want to talk about the universe testing, God testing me. When I got my real estate license, left Marriott, it was March of 2001. September 11th happened that year. And you want to talk about a panic moment, right? That there was a moment of, what did I do? I have a lot of regret. I should have just stayed. It was guaranteed income. Nobody was buying houses. People were, but not as many. Every house I had in escrow terminated. You want to talk about focusing on loss, focusing on income disappearing, focusing on regret. I had to quickly shift things around and really focus on, I've got the skill set and there's people out there that need me, and the opportunity that I was able to create and reclaim my joy and peace. There is a cost to holding on to things for the wrong reason. Number 6, decide what deserves protection now. There are certain things that deserve protection, right? This is where it's really important for us to determine what we're protecting that's important. And I would say to ask yourself these 3 questions. What am I protecting? Why am I protecting it? What is protecting it costing me? And if it's a good thing and we're protecting it, the cost is not negative, right? The cost is something to be good. These questions really are going to have you really do a deep dive on what you're protecting that you probably shouldn't be any longer. What am I protecting? Why am I protecting it? What is protecting it costing me? If I stopped protecting this, what could become possible? This is big. If you stop protecting it, what could become possible? In the book, Less Over More, I talk about this. When we fill the space with things that aren't the right more, we're protecting things we're holding on to because for fear of letting it go. Yet when we wring out the sponge and let some stuff go and let space appear, things show up. And you might be protecting something that doesn't need to be eliminated completely. Maybe it just needs to be redefined. Maybe it needs to be delegated or leveraged off to somebody else. Maybe it needs to be renegotiated. When you signed your contract, you were a junior at the position. Now you've mastered it. Let's renegotiate it. You might need to just change your relationship with it. You may finally admit that it actually belongs in your past. That is such a great gift to release things that you're protecting that don't belong in your future. The point is to become intentional about what still deserves your protection. There are some great things in our lives and our business that deserve our protection. And there are some things that we're doing just out of habit, out of a false sense of security, out of comfort, out of that certainty space, that if we let go of, the door would open to amazing things. So the goal is not to let go of everything. That's not it. It's to stop protecting what's costing you the future that you're desiring to create. If you've got a future that you have a strong desire to create, you've got to really look at what you're protecting that no longer has a place. And once you let it go, will allow you to catapult forward to the life that you want to have. This is one of my favorite conversations with clients. It's part of that subtraction to success. It's part of the awareness that more is not the only path to success. This is about what am I protecting that I no longer need to protect? Really think about this, team, as you assess what you're doing and where you want to go. This could be the one thing that you do that allows you to show up differently. So think about those 4 questions. What am I protecting? Why am I protecting it? What is protecting it costing me? And lastly, if I stopped protecting it, what could become possible? Like, what is possible in your world? I personally think whatever you want is possible. And we have to stop protecting things that are going to prevent us from having the capacity, the bandwidth, the space, the excitement, the peace, the joy of achieving it. All right, team, make it a great week. If you haven't ordered the book Less Over More, please go to your favorite place you order books, whether that's Amazon, Target, Barnes & Nobles, wherever you want, and place an order. If it's prior to August 25th, it will be a pre-order and the book will be sent as soon as it is available, which should be on the 25th. All right, team, August 25th, 2026. All right, team, thanks so much. Less Over More. We'll talk to you soon.
If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.